He risked my life for money. The emergency bill was returned with a red stamp that read, "Denied." The envelope that once held my insurance card was gone. Just gone. My jaw locked. I clenched my teeth, but I could not feel the sides of my face. It felt like I had been erased from the system. No name, no rights, no record. What if the person you trusted to protect you quietly took away your right to survive? Marilyn lived on the edge of Laconia, a small town tucked among the lakes and forests of New Hampshire. She was 68 years old and ran a modest bakery from the kitchen of her own home. Every morning, the scent of cinnamon and sourdough slipped out through the windows, curling down the gravel driveway and into the quiet neighborhood. She baked, delivered to 3 local stores, and filled special orders for birthdays and church potlucks. Her hands stayed busy, her heart stayed quiet. Her husband, Vernon, was 71 and long retired from his job as a corporate accountant. He had a rigid mind and a steady voice. He paid the bills, handled the taxes, and claimed he understood money better than anyone else. Marilyn had never questioned it. That was how it had always been. He was the numbers man, she was the baker. They had no children, just a few nieces and nephews who showed up around the holidays and faded away with thank you cards. The house was theirs. The routine was set. It was the kind of life that looked safe from the outside. When Vernon cancelled her private health insurance, he didn't tell her. Instead, he handed her a black and white photocopy of an outdated card and said, "It's handled." Marilyn had tried to ask about switching plans, maybe looking into Medicare Advantage. He brushed her off. "It's not worth the trouble. You're healthy." She believed him. After all, he had always said he was good with systems. She let him handle it. Over time, things changed. She started to feel lightheaded more often, especially after lifting heavy flour sacks or spending long mornings on her feet. Her chest would tighten in short pulses, and sometimes her vision blurred when she leaned over the stove. When she mentioned it to Vernon, he gave her a bottle of iron supplements from a discount store and said, "You just need more sleep." There were small signs. At the clinic, a young receptionist looked confused when scanning her card. This isn't coming up right." Vernon explained later that their provider had merged, and there were technical issues. "They're always slow to update," he said. She noticed that her name was no longer listed on their online insurance portal. But Vernon told her they never enrolled for digital access. "Too risky," he said. "Paper records are safer." She nodded. He made it sound reasonable. Then there was the time she caught part of a conversation Vernon had while he thought she was asleep. He was speaking softly on the phone in the hallway, just outside the bedroom door. "I can't pull anything this month. The capital's still tied up. Give it until the next quarter." She blinked but didn't move. She didn't know what capital he was talking about. He had always managed a few investments, but they had agreed to live simply. He never mentioned investments again. She never asked. Then, in late February, Marilyn collapsed on the kitchen floor. She had been kneading dough when her arms went numb and a sharp pain cut through her left shoulder. The rolling pin hit the ground with a thud. Her body followed. The paramedics came quickly. They asked for her insurance information at the door. She gave them the copy Vernon had left by the phone. They took her to the emergency room at Lakes Region General Hospital. She woke up in a curtained bay, lights overhead, blood pressure cuff on her arm. A nurse stood by the chart. "We're trying to get your coverage verified," the nurse said, "but there's a problem. There's no active policy under your name." Marilyn blinked. "That's not right. I've had insurance for years." The nurse looked apologetic. "Not according to the system. It says your coverage ended more than 2 years ago." She felt the air drain from her lungs. Her voice didn't come. Her heart beat like a fist inside her chest. The nurse placed a hand gently on her arm and said, "You can still receive treatment, but there will be out-of-pocket costs. Would you like to call someone?" Marilyn stared at the clipboard. the denial notice, the blank space where her information should have been. He had cancelled it 2 years ago. Quietly, without a word. I was healthy, so he thought I didn't need care. He was investing. That's where the money went. The silence filled her ears like a slow, humming fog. Her chest ached. She couldn't breathe right, but not because of illness. I wasn't worth the monthly premium. I wasn't even worth a conversation. She tried to speak, but her jaw locked tight. She felt her fingernails dig into her palms as she clutched the hem of the hospital blanket. Her arm trembled. She didn't even realize her legs had curled under her on the stretcher, as if to make herself smaller, invisible. She reached for her handbag, fingers numb, and searched for her old insurance card. It wasn't there, just receipts, old receipts, and a folded grocery list. She kept searching. She knew it wasn't there, but she couldn't stop. Her hands moved on their own. Then came the first whisper, not to anyone in particular, just to the air beside her. I trusted him. I handed him everything, and he spent it all on numbers. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She lay still and looked at the light above her head, wondering how many women had done the same. This did not begin with a missing card or a hospital bill. It began with a belief that many women carry deep in their bones. The belief that trust is safer than asking questions. That silence keeps peace. That as long as nothing seems broken, there is no need to look behind the curtain. But trust, when placed in the wrong hands, becomes a weapon too quiet to hear. Vernon didn't raise his voice. He didn't lock doors or tear up documents. He didn't have to. His control wore a different mask. He made the decisions, controlled the mail, kept the passwords, and handed Marilyn only what he thought she needed. That wasn't a partnership. That was financial control and medical neglect. From the outside, it looked harmless, even loving. But quietly removing someone's access to healthcare, especially at their most vulnerable, is a form of abuse. When he cancelled her insurance without telling her, he took more than just a policy. He took her ability to be cared for, to feel safe, to survive. This kind of abuse hides easily in long marriages. It happens in homes that seem stable, behind kitchen windows and birthday cards. Because it is not loud, it does not leave bruises, but it leaves women like Marilyn facing emergencies with nothing but a blank space in the system. Under United States law, what Vernon did may qualify as unauthorized insurance cancellation. He ended a shared health policy without consent. He used control of household finances to cut off a basic human need. That is not just financial dishonesty. It is identity theft in relationships. It is credit fraud against a spouse. And it is more common than most would believe. Marilyn took 3 steps toward reclaiming her dignity and her legal rights. First, she gathered every trace of documentation, bank records, cancellation notices, investment transfers. She made copies and brought them to a legal aid clinic in Concord. With help, she uncovered the full timeline. The cancellation had been intentional. The investments were held solely in Vernon's name, and the money had grown while her medical rights disappeared. Second, she filed a formal complaint under the Elder Financial Abuse Statute. It was not about revenge, it was about recognition. The legal system acknowledged the breach of trust as a violation, not a misunderstanding. The court ordered Vernon to return the equivalent of all gains made using diverted insurance funds. He was also barred from making any future financial or medical decisions on her behalf. Third, Marilyn took back her autonomy. She opened a new insurance account with a registered advisor. She assigned medical power of attorney to her niece, a school teacher who lived nearby. She created digital access to her financial records for the first time. No one else would hold those keys again. What Vernon did was not just selfish, it was systemic. And the only way to fight a quiet system is with a louder truth. Marilyn moved her bakery out of the house and into a small rental space across from the town post office. It was just 2 blocks away, with a wide front window and old floorboards that creaked when she walked. She painted the sign herself, Marilyn's Bread, open mornings. Customers came in for sourdough and lemon bars, but some lingered longer. They asked how she was. She said, "I'm all right now," and she meant it. For the first time, she handled every account herself. Her new health insurance card sat in the drawer beside her apron. She checked it twice a week, not because she didn't trust it, but because she could. She had claimed her name back. She didn't speak much of Vernon anymore, not out of forgiveness, but because he no longer held any place in her systems. The court order was final. He could no longer open or close any account in her name, medical or financial. That door was locked, and the recovery wasn't just legal, it was daily. It was the act of reading every document, of learning the difference between primary and secondary coverage, of sitting with an advisor and asking, "What does this form mean?" without shame. She had once believed that care came from staying small. Now she knew better. Care comes from knowing, from deciding, from owning every line of the story. To anyone watching, her life looked simple. Bread, receipts, a folding chair by the door, but everything inside that room had been chosen by her. Nothing was assumed, nothing was silent. Not long after reopening, she wrote something down and pinned it by the register. It was for herself, but some women read it and nodded. It said, "Ask to see it, every time," because somewhere, another woman is still handing the envelope to someone else, still saying, "He handles that," still hoping it's enough, but hoping does not cancel fraud, hoping does not restore access to care. This story is not just about Vernon. It is about every quiet choice that left Marilyn unprotected. And so, if you are listening, and if you do not know where your health insurance card is, go find it. If you do not have the login to your own policy, request it. If you have never read your Medicare statement, print it. Check if you are listed. Check if you are still covered. Open the drawer. Open the folder. Open the question. Then, write your name where it belongs, not in silence, but in full. And if this story feels close to yours, leave a comment below. Say, "I'm checking today," because there are women here who have stood in your shoes, who have asked too late, but now ask out loud. This channel is for you. This moment is for you. You are not alone. You never were.